What if the fairy tale wasn't a fairy tale at all, but a carefully engineered illusion hiding in plain sight? And what if, overnight, that illusion just shattered in the most explosive way possible? Because while the world was asleep on March 31st, 2026, something shifted. Not quietly, not subtly. A 200-year-old wall of silence cracked, and the shockwave didn't just echo through London, it slammed straight into Montecito like a controlled demolition finally gone wrong. This isn't rumor anymore. This isn't gossip whispered in dark corners of the internet. This is something far more dangerous, something institutional, something legal, something documented. 14 days earlier, March 17th, exactly 4 p.m., inside a building that doesn't deal in speculation, number 22 Old Queen Street, the editorial headquarters of a publication older than wars, older than scandals, older than reputations themselves. For 4 straight hours, legal minds didn't skim, they dissected. They didn't read, they weaponized. And when midnight hit, they didn't publish an article. They dropped a trigger. 15 words. Just 15. Not a question, a trap. How many yachts was she a guest on before she met her prince? Was it double figures or triple? Read that again, slowly, because those words don't ask if something happened. They assume it already did. That's the difference. That's the detonation point. And in elite journalism, you don't write like that unless you're sitting on something heavy enough to survive a courtroom war. And here's where it gets unsettling. For years, Meghan Markle has built an empire around one central narrative: misunderstood, misrepresented, targeted. Lawsuits, public statements, aggressive denials, a machine that reacted instantly to even the smallest whisper. But this time, silence. No lawsuit, no legal retaliation, no emotional interview, no public outrage, nothing. And that silence is louder than anything she's ever said. Because in the United Kingdom, defamation law isn't a playground, it's a battlefield. If she challenges this, she doesn't just fight headlines, she triggers discovery. And discovery is where secrets stop being rumors and start becoming evidence. Flight logs, yacht manifests, financial trails, all dragged into daylight under oath. So instead of a counterattack, we're watching hesitation, paralysis, a legal stalemate where one side is standing at the door daring the other to step in. And insiders, they're not even pretending anymore. Behind closed doors, one expert put it brutally, she can't deny it because of what might surface. She can't ignore it because now everyone's watching. She's trapped. And the timeline? It's not random. March 17th, publication drops. March 20th, independent analysts start connecting yacht schedules. March 31st, search interest explodes. It's not chaos. It's a pattern. Step 1, a legacy institution states something as implied fact. Step 2, no legal pushback. Step 3, the rest of the media, once afraid, now moves in. That's how walls fall. Not with noise, but with permission. And suddenly, this isn't a fringe theory anymore. It's a green light. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. Because to understand how this narrative was built, you don't look at palaces. You look at private rooms. Toronto, Soho House, room 402. Not just a hotel suite, a staging ground, a filtering system, a place where identities weren't just shaped, they were engineered. Inside that room, the lines between networking and something far more calculated begin to blur. Enter Marcus Anderson, not just a friend, but a gatekeeper. The man who decided who got access and who got proximity. Because Soho House wasn't just a club, it was a machine. Step 1, access. You pay the fee, you enter the world. Step 2, placement. You're positioned carefully next to power. Step 3, invisibility. No cameras, no records, no trace. And at the center of this ecosystem, Ron Burkle, a billionaire whose reach extended far beyond luxury hospitality into circles that don't appear on official guest lists. Private yachts, remote villas, spaces where nothing is documented but everything happens. Think about that. No paparazzi, no logs, no witnesses, except the ones who were there. And suddenly, the so-called yacht narrative stops sounding like speculation and starts looking like a system designed for quiet introductions, strategic connections, invisible transactions. And by 2014, the placement was complete, because that's when another name enters the orbit, Prince Andrew. Not through official events, not through public appearances, but through proximity, unrecorded meetings, private environments, carefully curated coincidences. And one insider described it chillingly. It wasn't about parties, it was about seating charts. Think about that. Not chaos, not randomness, design. But systems like this don't leave fingerprints. They leave leave ghost trails. And those trails, they're starting to light up. Because while the public saw magazine covers and Netflix deals, something else was happening behind the scenes. Something buried in legal documents. December 21st, 2021. A deposition request is filed in a case that shook the foundations of royalty itself, linked to Virginia Giuffre. And among thousands of potential witnesses, one name is selected. Not randomly, not casually, but deliberately. Meghan Markle. Why? Because according to legal analysts, she wasn't just another celebrity. She was a link, a bridge between two worlds that were never supposed to intersect publicly. And here's the terrifying part. This wasn't a media request. This was a federal legal move, meaning if she had been called to testify, she wouldn't have had a choice. Under oath, under scrutiny, under consequence. And then something happened. 5 weeks later, the case ends. A settlement, massive, immediate, final, before any testimony could happen. Coincidence or interruption? Because if that deposition had gone forward, everything changes. Every flight, every meeting, every timeline, all exposed. And just like that, the questions didn't disappear. They multiplied. Why end it so quickly? Why stop it before the testimony? What was too dangerous to be said out loud? And now, years later, those same questions are coming back. Stronger, louder, backed by documents instead of whispers. Because the truth about systems like this is simple. They work perfectly until they don't. And right now, they're breaking. And just when you think the story has reached its breaking point, it doesn't collapse. It mutates. Because the deeper you go into this timeline, the less it looks like coincidence and the more it starts resembling choreography. Precise, calculated, almost surgical in its execution. Let's rewind. Not to headlines, not to interviews, but to data points. Cold, unemotional, impossible to gaslight. September 2013. New York City. Two completely different worlds overlapping in the exact same place at the exact same time. On one side, Prince Andrew, documented, present, moving through Manhattan for an extended stay. On the other side, Meghan Markle, a television actress, also documented in the city during that identical window. Same city, same time frame, same narrow radius of elite hotels, but no official connection, no public record tying them together, just overlap. Now ask yourself, how many times does something like that happen purely by chance? Because when timelines begin to align this perfectly, they stop being coincidences, they become signals. Fast forward, July 2016. This is where the official story begins. The polished version, the romantic version, the version the world was told to believe, a blind date, an introduction, a spark. But behind the scenes, the same name quietly appears again, Marcus Anderson, the gatekeeper, the connector, the man who didn't just introduce people, he positioned them. Because weeks after that so-called first meeting, something else happens. August 2016. The image, the one that refuses to disappear. A photograph taken off the coast of Formentera, Spain, showing Meghan Markle on a private yacht, not at a red carpet, not at an official engagement, but on a vessel in a location tied directly to elite, off-grid social circles. And here's where it gets unsettling again. The timing. This isn't years before the royal connection. This is during the transition, right between the before and the after, right at the moment where one life quietly becomes another. And critics tried to dismiss it, tried to wave it away as harmless, innocent, coincidental. But metadata doesn't lie. Timestamps don't bend. And digital evidence, it doesn't forget. Which brings us to February 15th, 2022, the day everything almost came out. Because that's when the legal pressure reached a level that couldn't be ignored anymore. The lawsuit, the deposition threat, the possibility of testimony under oath, and then the settlement. Fast, expensive, final. A reported $12 million paid not to prove innocence, but to end the process, to stop the questions before they could be answered in a courtroom. Because if that deposition had happened, it wouldn't have been controlled. It wouldn't have been curated. It would have been raw. And raw truth doesn't care about reputations. But here's the twist that no one expected. Ending the case didn't erase the connections. It only delayed them. Because in January 2024, something massive happened. The release of millions of pages of federal documents tied to Jeffrey Epstein. Files that didn't speculate. Files that documented. And suddenly, names that once existed in shadows started appearing in official records, including Ron Burkle, the same figure tied to the Soho House ecosystem. The same ecosystem that functioned as the invisible bridge between worlds. And just like that, the narrative shifts again. Because now, it's no longer about rumors, it's about connections backed by federal documentation. which brings us back to March 2026, the moment everything accelerates. Because when that publication dropped its now infamous question, it didn't just stir controversy, it removed protection. It told every other outlet, you can talk now, you can investigate now, you can connect the dots without fear. And the dots, they're forming a line, a straight one, leading directly to a place that was never supposed to be examined this closely, the Montecito estate, where insiders are now describing the atmosphere in one word: panic. Not controlled concern, not strategic silence, panic. Because something else is happening, quietly, but far more dangerously. An expiration, a legal document signed years ago, an NDA from 2014, is reaching its end. And this isn't a small agreement. This is what insiders call a blanket, a contract designed to seal entire chapters of a life, to protect identities, to silence witnesses, to ensure that what happened in private stays buried. But contracts don't last forever. And when they expire, so does the silence. Think about what that means. The people who were there, the facilitators, the crews, the insiders, they are no longer legally bound. No more restrictions, no more penalties, no more fear of speaking. And right behind that expiration comes something even more explosive. Images, not rumors, not speculation, images. High-resolution photographs from that same August 2016 trip. Clear, undeniable, detailed. And according to insiders, Meghan Markle isn't the only recognizable face in them. There's another figure, a high-ranking official, still serving, still powerful. And their presence on that yacht was never recorded anywhere. No logs, no public schedule, no official trace, which means one thing. That world, the yacht world, the private network, the invisible system, it didn't just touch celebrities, it reached into government, into power, into institutions that were supposed to remain separate. And suddenly, this isn't just a personal story anymore, it's systemic. Because when you combine all of this, the expired NDA, the images, the legal precedents, you get something unstoppable. A chain reaction. Step 1, silence ends. Step 2, proof surfaces. Step 3, media moves. And once that process begins, it doesn't reverse, it escalates. Which brings us to the final and most dangerous possibility, the leak. Because insiders are now pointing toward one name, one figure who has built an entire career on tearing apart carefully constructed narratives. Tom Bower, a man who doesn't speculate, a man who doesn't publish unless he has receipts, financial trails, payment records, internal ledgers, and according to whispers, those records exist. Detailed accounts from the Soho House era, showing not just who was present, but who paid, who funded the rooms, who financed the trips, who covered the yachts. Because in a world like this, money doesn't disappear. It leaves a trail. And if that trail becomes public, everything changes. Because narratives can survive rumors, they can survive speculation, but they don't survive invoices. And as we stand here now, looking at the full picture, one thing becomes impossible to ignore. This was never just about a relationship. It was about access, about placement, about transformation from one world into another. And the question that now hangs over everything isn't small. It isn't simple. It isn't even comfortable. It's this: if this entire structure was built on controlled visibility, what happens when everything becomes visible? Because right now, the walls aren't just cracking. They're gone. The silence isn't protecting anymore. It's exposing. And somewhere in that exposure lies the truth that was never meant to surface. Not in whispers, not in rumors, but in full view for everyone to see.